Hello, and welcome to What's Your Story? I'm your host, Sherita Williams, and today my guest is Stephen Dileo. He's a clinical researcher. He lives in Covington, Louisiana, and he has been married for, I think he told me, 32 years. And he has a nonprofit that he's going to tell us all about his ministry. So please help us welcome Stephen Dileo to the stage.
Thank you so much.
Stephen, welcome.
Great to meet you, Sherita. Yeah.
Stephen, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
I have a background in nursing. I did critical care nursing at places like Charity Hospital in New Orleans and several hospitals around there, and knew I was getting too old to continue as a 12-hour shift nurse. So I went and got a master's in business administration from the University of New Orleans. And I was a study coordinator at Tulane University Medical School for a couple of years and was recruited to be a clinical research monitor. And so I've been doing that for about 23, 24 years now, and learning all kinds of new things because we get different kind of studies and things like that. So I used to travel to sites. Most of it's remote now with COVID and all that. And we just verify that the data the sites are entering matches everything that's in the medical record and be sure they're good, ready to go for FDA audits, that kind of thing. So that's my sort of a clinical professional background.
Okay, very interesting. And then, I told you earlier, my daughter also graduated from UNO. So It's a small world.
Yeah.
So tell our viewers a little bit about your ministry and the name of your nonprofit.
Yeah, the name of the nonprofit is Jonathan's Impact Workman Ministries, which can be found at jonathansimpact.org. And this centers around orphan support in Zimbabwe, which I've actually been involved in since 2003. And I've been to Zimbabwe probably about 12 or 13 times. And my wife, Cassandra, and Jonathan's our youngest son, and our son, Michael, actually did a mission trip there in 2005, just before Hurricane Katrina, because we're in the New Orleans area. And Jonathan was very, very moved by the conditions over there. There are 1 million AIDS orphans in Zimbabwe, and it's been a rough economic situation over there for a lot of years. And you know, the thing that always impresses young and old when they go over there is just how you can't take electricity and clean water for granted. You just can't. And so we visited some orphanages over there in 2005, and one was the Mabuya Nahanda orphanage, which housed about 100 kids at the time. And the government was just rounding up orphans from the street and putting them in this abandoned tobacco warehouse area, and they named it the Mabuya Nahanda Orphanage, but they didn't fund it. So when we went over there was a one-day supply of food. The kids were just all over the place, and there was really no structure to it. So when Jonathan was diagnosed with a brain tumor in August of that year, his Make-A-Wish request was to provide irrigation for that home, because they lived on a large plot of land in the countryside. Make-A-Wish normally doesn't do this, but they ended up granting the wish posthumously after John died in December of that year. And we were able to go back to the home a couple of years later to see the orphanage, and it was green as could be. I mean, all kind of food, chickens, kids were getting meat, eggs every day. And so it was just a really fruitful trip to see that. Now, since that time, the home has been sold to a private entity. The kids were all moved out to smaller homes. But what we've done is to support 2 other orphanages, which are much more manageable in scope. They have anywhere from 12 to 20 kids per home. So we've continued that effort of orphan care and formed the Ministry of Jonathan's Impact to continue the care of orphans in Zimbabwe.
So help us understand. So it was Jonathan's illness that sent you to Zimbabwe?
No,
Or
I
was
had
that a
gone
mission trip as well?
Yeah, I had gone there as well, and we decided to do, the family wanted to come with me on one of the mission trips, so we brought us all over there. But Jonathan's impact really was formed from his wish to provide the irrigation for that field and that home. And we knew we wanted to continue to support the orphans, and they were very important to Jonathan. He really, had a heart for that. And so we decided to continue that ministry and just formalize it and form the 501(c) and just to continue with it in a more organized way than just kind of a scattered way, piecemeal. So we decided just sort of try to get organized and do it in Jonathan's memory. And because he'd be thrilled to see the kids doing better. So, he had a heart for those kids. So now we support two homes, the Chilaleko home and the Shama house. And they each have their staff members who live there. And it's really interesting because the kids who come there have terrible backgrounds. I mean, just terrible. Abandonment as newborns to, toddler age. And so this is providing a safe haven for them. We provide for their education, their meals, clothing, all of that, spiritual needs, etc. So it's been very fruitful. I love meeting the people over there, the pastors, especially the kids. They're just wonderful. And you think of 1 million orphans and you're helping maybe 20 or 30 at a time. You think, gee, this isn't doing anything. But if you can, it is. If you change one life, you've done something down the line. So we just we're very thrilled to be at. Now we partnered.
And that lines up with WYTV7's mission. We help one person at a time is the vision. One at a time. If you can help one, you play it forward, you help one, you help one. And but the mission, for WYTV7, is to educate, empower, and encourage. And I know that education is a large part of your ministry, but tell us about, I know that there's a water shortage there.
Yes.
So tell us how the irrigation for those homes, how is that impacted even through the government?
Oh, sure. Now we partner with Global Life Foundation in Harare and in the US, Hands of Hope out of San Jose. Hands of Hope purchases homes, converts them into orphanages, and what we do is provide the support for them. Now, the problem with the water situation is that nothing is maintained over there. The water treatment system just basically doesn't exist. You can't really drink the tap water if you get it, because depending on the rainy season or the operation of the city services, you may not have tap water. Electricity is even worse. They may have electricity for 2 hours a day. So we had staff members waking up at 2 a.m. just to cook meals for the kids, for later in the morning. So there's nothing you take for granted over there. So what we've done is we dug some wells at both homes, and we provided submersible pumps. And what we're in the process of doing is converting those over to solar powered submersible pumps. So they won't be so reliant on electricity just to get clean water. So it's everything's a challenge over there. I mean, everything. So each home has their gardens. They try to, obviously sustain the kids with that. If they can sell some of the vegetables, then that's good. Chicken projects, rabbit projects, anything you can think of that would help provide for the homes. So water's been a big issue, and we've had a hand in having wells dug in a couple of different villages in rural area that the churches are aware of.
So Stephen, for our guests that is just now joining, tell us the mission for Jonathan's impact mission.
Yeah, we're a Christian organization. We provide for the not just the spiritual support of the kids, but obviously the physical, the educational support. These kids needed a safe haven. They literally came off the street. So they need a place where they know that they're safe, number one. They're well clothed. They're fed 3 meals a day, and they go to school every day. So the house mothers over there will walk up kids to the school. We provide now. Right now, everything's on lockdown because of COVID. So they're actually getting into some computer work with the schools over there. So we've been helping with that as well, getting internet access for the homes and all of that. But when they do return to school, we help purchase books because many schools over there don't even have books. So so that it's just a holistic, whatever they need, we try to help with. So the needs are, like I say, hot running water and electricity are things we take for granted, and they don't always have that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are the age ranges of kids that this orphanage supply to?
Yeah, they've had they age out at 18, but the Chilliwack home in particular has had kids as young as 3 months brought to them. And they really weren't set up for that, but that's what the need was. So some of the house mothers were fairly old, really. And so we've had I think, it was very challenging to take, I had 3, infants at one time brought to one of the homes. That's very difficult, when you're doing so much, waking up at 4 o'clock every day to get meals ready and do all this and all that. So yeah, we just try to provide for the daily needs of the kids in any category you want to choose, so.
Mhm. So I understand that the Jonathan Impact Orphanage has something new. They've got
Yes.
the secondary education. So can you expound just a little bit on that?
Yes, it's an aging out program because in Zimbabwe, the law is that once you reach 18, you're back on the street. You just leave. And if a person has a distant relative to live with, and the problem with that is, and even trying to arrange foster care, is everybody over there is very poor. The unemployment rate's like 80%. So the HIV rate is about 40%. So the challenges are immense. So what we decided to do was to do an aging out program, and we provide for secondary education as either trade school, university, if they can get into university, but we want to be able to have them be able to make a living and be heads of families someday, and just have a way to support themselves. So we've actually gotten several kids heavy equipment operator licenses. Now, a couple of them had to go out of country to get work, but at least they were able to provide for themselves. And I know one of them recently came back to the country and is looking for a job in Zim. But you can't just support them until a certain age and then just think, well, they've flown away and they're going to live long and be prosperous. They need to have the tools to support themselves. So the house mothers are really good at following up on their lessons. And when they age out, we are actually finding some families that will take them in as they're going through school. Now, normally you can't keep a kid on the orphanage grounds past 18, but if they're in that school, we're getting permission to let them stay on the land, like in a secondary building or possibly in the main house, but until they actually get their certificate. And so we're just trying to keep a forward, viewpoint of things. Okay, now what happens to these kids now, now that they're 18? So we're very excited about that because I think these are going to be good, strong leaders of families is our hope, and that they come to the orphanage really without the experience of growing up in a family. So just how to be part of a family unit is kind of a different thing for them. They grow up in this group home. Now, Conald and Lucia Undereye are the house mother and gardener of one of the homes, and that's the Chilliwack home. Pastor Abel and his wife are over the Shama house. They're really like parents to these kids, and the kids get to see their relationship with one another and just what it's like to be part of a semi-family unit, to have a responsibility, of either pitching in with chores or whatever. but obviously one bigger responsibility is keeping up with your schoolwork. So just things like that. So we're just hoping that we can give them some of those social skills of growing, of seeing what a family unit can look like, because they don't always have those skills.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
right now, Stephen, we're going to take a break.
All right.
And we'll be back and just after this break, okay?
Wonderful.
Always been my mission to help people with their health. Organs are some of the most nutrient-dense superfoods on the planet, and yet we're not getting them in our diet. My name is James Berry. I've been a chef for over 16 years. I came up with this new product. It's called Pluck. It's an organ-based all-purpose seasoning. In Pluck, you don't need to know how to cook. Just simply either make a food how you would and finish it with Pluck. You can add it to the recipe while you're making it. You can finish it with Pluck. You can simply just season your meal with Pluck. By being a shelf-stable spice, can be added to any food: popcorn, rice, salad, chicken, fish, eggs, you name it, and you can use it with Pluck, the organ-based all-purpose seasoning that's versatile and goes with any food. Nutrition in a pinch.
And we're back. And we'd like to thank our sponsors. And we'd like to thank WYTV7 community broadcaster for this platform. So today, our guest is Stephen Dileo, and his nonprofit is the Jonathan Impact Orphan Ministry. So Jonathan, give us some more information on where the Jonathan Impact can be found.
It can be found on the website, jonathansimpact.org. You can see the history of how this was formed, what John's story was or is, and the current projects that we're involved in. And you can have see who our board members are, and just basically an oversight of the things we're involved in. And there's a way to donate there as well. We've done child sponsorships, and you can actually look at some of the bios over there. They used to let us use kids' pictures, but then they said, no, you can't do that. So we don't do it. It was pretty powerful when you see the kids. They're just great looking kids. So anyway, it's a pretty good complete picture on that website. So that's probably the best resource.
Mm-hmm. So Stephen, do y'all do a lot of fundraising as for in the States, or or it's just people donating to your website?
It's people donating through the website, and most of it are through a local church that actually doesn't exist anymore. The church broke up a few years ago, but through that church, we met some wonderful people who continued to donate, and several are on our board now. We actually belong to a church called Community Church here in Covington, Louisiana. And they actually do some support for us. So while the minister, we brought the African team in 2 years ago to bring them to the Christian Alliance for Orphan Conference in Louisville. And our group over here was able to meet the pastor, and then Lucia and Connell Dundahara. And so, when people can meet each other and actually get to see and meet the people they're supporting, it's just wonderful to do. So that was a great visit that they had over here. So it was interesting to drive to Louisville on roads that were drivable, because roads in Zimbabwe are like the surface of Mars or something. So, like I say, all the little things we take for granted, they
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what are some of the specific orphanages that you support?
Well, we support the Chilaleko Home and the Shama House. And these are both properties that were purchased by Hands of Hope Ministry, Pastor Glenn Miller out of San Jose, California. So what we've done is we've partnered with Hands of Hope and the local ministry over there through Peter Mabasa and his wife, Beauty Mabasa. He heads up the Global Life Foundation. So Glenn Miller actually goes to Zimbabwe 5-6 months out of the year. So I was able to connect him with Peter. And so then they actually work together to meet common needs and all of that. So there's some overlap there. So so what we do is we provide the monthly budget for both homes, and any kind of sudden needs, like if a generator goes out, or if a water pump goes out or some kind of capital item like that, or if the roof needs repair. So we try to help with those sorts of things. So it's all the monthly supply budgets, which includes school supplies, clothing funds, just whatever it may be, medical care, anything that the kids need and the staff needs, because we provide a salary for the staff. And look, I marvel at the house mothers and the hours they put in every day. It's work because they wash all these clothes by hand. The water supply isn't consistent enough. I actually bought a washing machine for Chilliwaco, and it was almost useless because the water pressure was so low, it would take hours to fill up. So, they don't have time for that. So they're out there with the tubs and scrubbing and clothes hanging on everything you can hang clothes on. So they work hard. They work real hard. So
Stephen, most of the people in Zimbabwe, if there's a water shortage, where do they get the water from?
They rely a lot on the rainy season, and the homes have cisterns that collect water through the gutter system. They try to save as much as they can. Now, what we've done is dig wells, because the city water really isn't drinkable. So we've actually paid to have wells dug at the property, but so many people are on well system that if it's not the rainy season, the water table gets real low. So there are times, even with the wells, we've had to try to dig deeper and things like that. But it's just very difficult to get the water that you and I may be used to using, right? So, I had the team over here and I said, okay, this is what water pressure looks like. And it turned on a faucet, because they just don't see that, So, it's just, it's been hard for me to bring my Western viewpoints and try to get them to have that same thing over there and say, okay, if I just do this, they'll get that. And it just doesn't always work out. The water pressure just isn't there, or, we may think what we like about bottled water, but we can drink our tap water. They really can't drink their tap water. So it's something. It really is.
So what projects is the Jonathan Impact involved in now at the home?
Yeah, right now, the big project we're doing is the Aging Out program that's primarily affecting the Shama home because they have the older kids there. But it's an ongoing effort with the crop raising. We help, with obviously you need irrigation for that. So we're trying to always keep up with their irrigation needs. What we want to do is replace these electric pumps, the submersible pumps, with solar powered, because the electricity is just so, not only is it unreliable, but the utility company charges exorbitant rates for the little electricity they provide. So if we could get them transitioned over to solar as much as possible, that would really be a big help.
Yeah. So last year, let's go back 16 months, 2020, we got the pandemic, we got the COVID pandemic. How has that affected the operations in the homes in Zimbabwe?
Oh, it's been rough for everybody over there, in the sense that a lot of what the people of Zimbabwe do is a barter system, because with 80% unemployment, or even just, let's say you make pottery to sell in the local market or something like that, you would travel to the market, you would do things you can to barter. But the government did these incredible lockdowns where everyone had to stay in their homes. And if you don't have a job and you can't even go out and barter, it's just go out to sell eggs that your chickens have laid or whatever. It makes it almost impossible to survive. So they've had a very difficult time of it. Peter and Lucia actually live in the rural area, and they commuted in. And the reason they do that is that their little community, they would hold church services there every Sunday, and they just really wanted to be in their local community, because we kept saying, hey, move to the home and do that. They spend more time at the home now because of the restrictions on travel and all of that. Conald had a job with a company for over 20 years, but he wasn't being paid. I mean, he was making $20 a month, if he could get paid at all. So our salary, which isn't much by our standards at all, is better than what he was actually getting paid over there, So he's actually a great jack of all trades kind of guy, and he's doing the gardening at the Chilliwack home, and he has a great relationship with the kids, as does Lucia. They've just been such a blessing for the Chilliwack home. We've been involved with Shama Home for 1 or 2 years now, and Pastor Abel, he was brought to us through Hands of Hope, and he and his wife, oh man, they ministered to kids and took them in their homes, and with no support. I mean, none from anyone. So they were really working hard. And when we were able to take them on and provide some funding, they literally cried with gratitude that they were getting some help from somebody. So, and that's what Hands of Hope does, is they don't just try to find somebody and say, hey, we want you to run a home and we'll pay you some money to do it. They find people who are doing it on their own without help. And they say, okay, that person has a great heart for these kids. We're going to help them out because they're doing it. And but man, they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. We can help them because they're already doing it.
So Stephen, how can someone support or participate in a mission trip?
Well, we were going to go this December, but the people over there told us, no, don't do it this year because of the lockdowns. You won't be able to really travel around much. They want you to quarantine and all that. So we had been going at different times of the year, but at least once a year for a while. We haven't been able for the last 2 years now. So the times vary. We love to go over there around Christmas time. Or we've been there at Thanksgiving. We've actually gone over in July. Now their seasons are opposite, so just be aware. In July is their winter. So this year we were going to go in December, but what we do is on the website, jonathansimpact.org, we'll announce when the trip's going to be. Try to do it well in advance so people can make arrangements, to join in, and we'll actually share flight information and all of that. So and Jonathan's Impact doesn't pay for our airfare. We do that on our own. So we have no salaries on staff. We want this to be about the only administrative costs we have are in shipping and postage and stuff like that. So, we have staff salaries that we pay, but over there, nobody over here makes anything. So, and that's the way we're always going to keep it. Yeah.
Right. So Jonathan, not Jonathan, Stephen, please tell us how we can help. Give us your website one more time and let us know how we can help with your mission.
Sure. It's Jonathan's Impact, and it's JONATHANS, and then impact.org. And there's a way to donate on the website through a system that will actually give you a receipt for it right there. You can dedicate the donation to a particular child or a home or just general expenses, whatever you want to do. And we love to have people come on the trips. I mean, we have brought people over there with us, and like I say, I need all the expertise I can get. So, we brought a fellow who's actually joined our board, Greg Adams, and came over, and he's a great jack of all trades, farmer type,
Right.
And he was like giving them a lot of input on crops they could raise and things like that. Mm-hmm. So any expertise, believe me. And I have to tell you, the people over there are so friendly. They are just people you'll just laugh with as soon as you meet them. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. Right. And we always stay with either at the home or with Pastor Mabas's house. We're always safe. There's never been a security issue with us at all. Now, one of the homes, the Shama house, did get broken into a few months ago and everything's stolen. So we helped them replace some of that stuff and then get a security company hired. And the sad part is the poverty is so bad. People do things you don't think they would do. It's not too, I don't know, stealing from an orphanage sounds pretty bad to me, but you try to keep it in perspective, and
All right. Well, Stephen, we would like to thank you for coming and sharing your story.
Well, thank you so much for the interest. I mean, so much.
Well, thank you so much. And, I just want to talk to our audience. Every time you drink a glass of water, you think that's nothing. But to the kids in Zimbabwe, they don't have that option.
No, they don't.
If it's not the rainy season or the wells are low, they don't have water.
Exactly right.
So I plead to you today to go to Jonathan's Impact Orphanage Ministry.org and give today.
And I want to tell you,
Today.
my wife Cassie is a smart one. Okay, she wasn't able to be here. I wish she had been, but she is a great organized person, and she's the brains of the outfit. You know.
All right. Well, we would like to thank you and Cassie
All right.
for doing such a great job over in Africa. I know that the Zimbabwe people thank you. We thank you here at WYTV7, and we also thank you for being on our show. Thank you for letting your story become our story on What's Your Story. I'm Sherita Williams. Until we meet again.